did a one shiny meetup. I was worried about fitting everyone. We kind of did it. So my name is Phil. I do like marketing and design. I've been doing projection mapping work for a while here at Lightform. I wanted to quickly show you what we're making, talk about availability, specs, and then show you just a quick demo how it works. Laura's been showing a demo of like an edge detection filter that we have kind of running up there, if you haven't seen it. So Lightform is basically a camera and a computer. So we have just a normal kind of RGB camera. We're not doing any active IR emission, time of flight, or kind of structured light type stuff. What we do is visible structured light. So a lot of you are probably familiar with that process. I'll show you a quick demo. So we've got a desktop software that we're creating, which is targeted at kind of like novice content creation. What it does is it'll let you actually select the device of the network, and then you can see a live preview, and you can initiate a scan. So over here, we've got our scanning process happening. So this is probably a pattern you guys have seen before. This is gray code. And so what we're doing is projecting through. There's a device connected to that projector up there. We're sending the gray codes to the projector. The camera is detecting them, and we're able to extract some disparity from the baseline. And so then the scan is actually going to be wirelessly sent back to the desktop software over our network. So when we ship next year, we're currently targeting opening up the orders spring of next year. The device will both serve as kind of an integrated media player and scanning device that if you're deploying a projection mapping installation, you can basically just use this instead of leaving the laptop behind. And it does run, some, you do have the ability to run some shaders on the device and actually run content directly from it.
Question?
Yeah.
What type of GPU is in there?
That is a great question.
Sorry?
It's a quad-core A9 processor, and then GPU-wise, Brett? Brett, I'm deferring to him. I'll get back to him. Yeah. And so we're actually now downloading a scan of images over the network. And so I can export these. Scans. And so these are basically what's coming out of the projector, coming out of the Lightform camera. So that's what our camera sees. And then what we actually end up giving you is a scan that is as if you were looking through the lens of the projector. So this is effectively mapping all the pixels in the projector space to the camera space. So, a 1920 by 1080 projector will end up giving you a 1920 by 1080 image, and you can author content directly on top of this or apply a shader, such as like the edge detection that we're doing over there. We also do extract disparity, so that would help you select objects based on how far away they are from the sensor. So you could use that similar to how you use it Connect. So the scanning itself takes a couple seconds, but yeah, we're gonna have more info out on our website soon. We also are hiring for a few roles, software engineers, and we're also setting up a team to be able to go out and actually deploy some of these installations in the real world. So if you're interested in just designing projection mapping and going out and getting a lot of the kind of inbound clients that we have, yeah, we'd love to talk. So, cool. Thanks.
Did you leave that?
Yes.
That's it.
Does it need power too?
No.
Okay, so next up we have Meow. So I should say I am recording this whole thing, so if you don't want me to record your presentation, that's totally cool. Just let me know when you start if you would not want me to record it.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Conor Peterson. I'm here representing Meow along with Drew Trujillo, and where's Joel? Joel Harvey. Cool. So we're an arts collective. We're from Santa Fe, out of town visiting the other SF. Little SF. Yeah, the really small SF. Our claim to fame, if we have one, is that we have been putting on these kind of outlandishly large and complicated immersive art installations in Santa Fe. I'm going to show some stuff here. Actually, really, I just have a bunch of pretty pictures. This is the Do Return. 2011, we got 100 artists basically to work on this. It was a huge boat that was basically just turned loose to a collective of people, and so we said, fill this up. It'll be awesome. We quickly made a partnership with the company that produces Instamorph, and attempted to basically build like a house inside it, I guess you could say. This was wildly popular for us and got us like a lot of attention in 2011, like I said. So we started to actually think about how we could take this model and make it a little bit more sustainable. Like, we realized that if there was that many people interested in going to see this art show, that maybe we could alter the model a little bit, charge at the door as if people were going to like a rock show, and then actually pay the people who had heretofore been volunteering for us. So we put together this project called the House of Eternal Return. And what tipped us over the edge is we got funding from George R.R. Martin, who happened to be hanging out in Santa Fe, as he does. And he said, okay, why don't we like buy and renovate this bowling alley and we'll just lease it back to you guys? And we said, okay. Cool. So we did this. Nobody on the team was an architect or a structural engineer or even like an actual engineer of any kind. But we put together like a legit floor plan and like got building permits, and this is our network diagram. And then we turned into basically a factory for like a year while we built this thing. Pretty much like a black hole sucking up every talented artist and tradesman in New Mexico. There's about 150 total. And it was just like a game of saying like, yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that, knowing that later we would not necessarily be able to cash those checks. But it was awesome. There was some crossover with Burning Man. A lot of people who dedicate themselves to that project were interested in working with us, and we kept saying yes. So we got some outdoor sculptures from the Burner crew. Nobody really knew how popular this was going to be. We figured that like for this whole operation to even be able to like maintain itself, like just breaking things, that it would take about 100,000 visitors every year, which is no small feat. Santa Fe has like 2.7 million visitors per year total. And you know, we just had our friend design the lobby. Inside the exhibition, there was a Victorian house that we built, basically like to scale. This is a 20,000 foot exhibition, 20,000 square feet. And we developed this pretty complicated narrative involved, well, I don't want to spoil it, but it definitely involved a family that went too far and too deep and managed to open up portals into the multiverse right in the middle of their dining room. From there, it's almost impossible to describe, and you can get on YouTube and like look at people attempting to walk through the space, but it doesn't really like video well because it's very dark in there. But this is the forest area that's just full of like laser cut ceiling, laser cut like paper vines and stuff. All, I swear, treated with flame retardant. It's not very funny. That's a scale model of Baba Yaga's hut. Yeah, it's crazy. It doesn't necessarily show so much in these photos, but there's a lot of interactive technology here. All of these mushrooms are outfitted with like piezo microphones and things that you can hammer on. Our technology stack is really like deep vertically, but also goes so far horizontally, it's like a rhizome. Some stuff is in processing, some of it's in Max, some of it's just in straight C because some engineer was like, I want to write this in C. We decided to put a music venue and a stage in there, which is pretty awesome. All of the neon is DMX controllable, because why not? We use a lot of black lights, and it just goes on and on. There's an arcade with a, yeah, I can't even talk about the plot. We use a lot of sophisticated like means of fabrication for this too, but that involved a lot of actually reaching out to local industries and asking for handouts, which they did. Everybody was really proud in town of this thing. When it was done, we actually, we expected, I think I said 100,000 visitors. We got 450,000 visitors, which was like jaw-dropping. We weren't even sure who, and to this day I don't even know who these people are. We're not really sure who the audience is, except that it's very popular and people drive really far to see it. And we're excited about this because it kind of seems to imply that we might be able to do some stuff with artists that we didn't think were possible as artists. Like, I guess maybe we'd all been kicking around hoping that maybe somebody could pay us to just like do a crazy room install. And then we became that company that can do that. So right now we are expanding to 2 large cities and basically re-envisioning ourselves as like essentially a manufacturing company. This is our new workshop that Joel is basically trying to build out with all of the equipment that we could ever want. How many square feet is this? The Caterpillar plant?
27,000 for this space, 52 for the overall.
Yeah, so this is a 52,000 square foot. It's the largest building in the county.
It's one of 8. It's one of 8 buildings that we have.
Yeah, but you know, we've got a lot of like the windows in our sales, sort of like the city of Santa Fe, you know, is using all of their business development and economic development stuff to help us do this. So that's excellent. And we're kind of reversing the brain drain out of New Mexico. Like prior to this, you know, you would, if you were a young person, you would learn a lot of awesome skills, and then you would be too valuable to really stay there, basically in poverty. So now people are like all kind of flooding back in, and it's so cool. Yeah, just a couple more views of our factory floor. This is Joel's special effects trailer. So that's pretty much that presentation. I just wanted to show this to you so you could all kind of see where we're at in case you've seen us on social media. We're going to be sending out like a proposal for collaborative works, basically whoever wanted to work with a bunch of artists. So, I mean, even a dedicated team of technologists now, because we are those people. Keep your eye out for a general call to the public in January, mid-Jan. And or talk to myself or Drew or Joel later after this.
I would also add to that keep your, if you're interested in possibly working with us, we're going to be hiring quite a few people across the board. We'll probably double the size of our company within the next year.
Question, what does your hiring process look like?
It's brutal. No. No, I'm kidding. It's nothing like out here.
There's a really awkward moment where we ask you what kind of plant you would be, and half of our candidates fail or pass the interview at that instant.
I was expecting something like that, yeah.
I don't know what that is. Okay, cool. All done. Any questions?
Neon work.
Well, I'm not really sure. It's beautiful though. I mean, it's like, and we're okay. The problem with the neon is it's really hard to maintain. Like we have. That's sort of an ongoing issue with the entire thing. Is we were speccing for like 10,000 people, 100,000 people, and it's just like been an endless flesh river. So things that you would think like would hold up, like a potentiometer, doesn't. And anyway, the neon, we're looking to actively replace that with LED neon. Some of those products are really beautiful in that space, but they're meant for signage and only flex in one direction, not all the directions. Any other questions? Okay, well we're here to answer them.
All right. So next up is Tim Thompson with the Space Palette Pro. Do you have anything?
I didn't bring any slides, but I brought the actual installation, which I can play with in the back of the conference room there. It's called the Space Palette Pro. For the last 10 years or so, I've been doing interactive installations using three-dimensional input devices. The most well-known one is the Space Palette that uses the Kinect. This latest one, called the Space Palette Pro, uses the SenScell Morph, which is an amazing pressure-sensitive pad that a company in Mountain View just started producing this year. It's multi-touch and pressure-sensitive. There's 20,000 force-sensing resistors in it. It's got a USB interface with a very simple C API, so you can get access to the raw data it's putting out. And you can go from just the barest, lightest touch to a super hard press and everything in between. So I'm a big fan of the device and the installation I created. Using it, I use 4 of them. Each pad is, you're finger painting on them and you're playing music and graphics at the same time. Graphically, it's fairly obvious. Pressure is your finger painting and pressure is the size of the graphics. Musically, it's 2 octaves across and it's split horizontally into 3 horizontal bands, fast notes at the top and slow notes at the bottom. And then there's a touch screen that lets you select different presets. So there's 24 different sets of sounds, every pad. Each of the 4 pads has a different graphic and a different sound. So that's pretty much it. I'm a big fan of these pads. Ever since Fingerworks was a company a long time ago that had a multi-touch device. Similar, it was the area of the fingers instead of the pressure. Unfortunately, it was so good that Apple bought the company and took it off the market. So for 10, 12 years, I've been waiting for somebody to do something similar, and SenScell finally did it. Anyway, you can play with it afterward.
Alright, so next up is Jordan with the pre-printed album arts.
Yeah. I'm another presenter without slides. Before I go into my personal project, I just want to mention I also run Kodame Art and Tech. It's an organization that's been active the last 8 years here in the city. And we have a current call for proposals out for our next festival. It's called Autobots, so all imaginations of robots, AI, and all of those other things that are becoming more and more intrinsically entwined in our lives. Having fun playing with that concept. So go on the website, kodame.com, and check that out. I've got stickers for that. But then, for the fun stuff on the side, personally, I'm Starpause, and I have stickers for that too. And as Starpause, I make electronic music and visuals. And as part of that, as my latest album release, I created these pieces of jewelry which are 3D printed. And because it's so small scale, I wanted to just like get these in people's hands. You can pass them around and check them out. You can unwrap that and just see what it's about. Then I pass those around. Basically on Bandcamp there's a section for merchandise where you can release a USB stick. This is kind of like that, except it's a micro SD card where I took my logo and got it silk screened on the micro SD cards, and then I was gonna originally do like CD case size things or DVD case size things that had reliefs on them so you could like hang them on your wall, and that was gonna be the album release art. But then I was like, why stop there? Let's go totally 3D, and I catted up these pieces of jewelry that also have the logo on them, and it's a nose hook, so they just like, they sit on your face like this, and the memory card is right where your memories are. And it's so deep, and it keeps on going like that. And it's like 8 gigabytes of my music, videos, all my output that I've had over the years, including the CAD files for the 3D printable nose hook if you want to take more of that. So yeah, pass it around, check it out. Get it back to me by the end of the night, or if you want to buy one, they're $20 in real life, or if you get them online, they're $30 because I got to do shipping and stuff. In addition to that, all my music is open source and pretty much free, so if you are looking for like sound effects for a project or like multi-track audio that you can do dynamic feedback with, stuff like that, look up Starpause online. I've got like, hundreds of tracks out there that have their stems available so that you can like take them and use them in your installations or whatever else you're interested in doing with them. Creative Commons licensed. So that's it. If you want stickers, find me later, and hopefully I didn't use up too many minutes so we can get more than 8 people up here.
Okay, Chris Birke.
Yeah. Hi. So I've got a cold. Apologies if you can't hear me or if I pass out while I'm up here. I wanted to show 2 things that I've been working on. One is just a little thing I made recently that ended up being really cool. I don't know if you guys have worked with LIDAR data before, but LIDAR data is coming along really well. And so I wanted to open with that, which may or may not happen here. Oh, there we go. Okay, it did work. So this is apparently a little hard to see, but this is a scan of a jungle somewhere in South America that's being used in a virtual reality movie. And I threw together a little point cloud renderer over the last few days in Unity. And using compute shaders, it's not too hard to do, and the results are really compelling. And this is running at about 30, 40 frames a second, and goodness, that's about 68 million points all at once. So if you didn't know you could do that, you can. But that's not really what I'm here to show the most. I wanted to show this passion project that I've been working on for the last year or so. What it is basically the culmination of the last 10 years of dissatisfaction I've had with design in games and interactive experiences. I showed some graphics. Graphics are cool. The graphics don't really extend the space of what's possible. My goal is to basically go to the very bottom of everything and unify. In the Unity game engine, there's the concept of a transform. Everything that shows up in the game is a transform, and I want to transform the transform with this. And it's a bit esoteric. It looks like a particle system, but it's more than that. It's a swarm, which means that it is capable of self-awareness. Each one of these points can talk to the other points. They coordinate and network themselves into local neighborhoods that then talk to each other, enabling complex emergent behaviors. So I'm going to restart. It seems to have figured out it's doing a demo. Oh, there we go. Yes. So on top of these things, you can pretty much do whatever you like. Here I've hooked them up to a landscape, and so I can go ahead and grab that and manipulate it, and the points react. They're aware of not only the environment they're in, but one another. So I can change their behavior. Let's see. For some reason, this window just rigged out. Demos. By adjusting the parameters. And since this isn't working, I will just bounce through a bunch of these things. But the different behaviors you can get are remarkable. And the thing that I find most intriguing about it is that you don't know what they're going to do. They kind of form their own ideas about what should be. And in real time, you can change their parameters and their behaviors change as a result. So the simple flocking parameters are what control how they react to each other. And changing their reactions allows for emergent behavior. But beyond that, it's doing analysis of itself in order to figure out what's going on. Each point is constantly looking at its local neighborhood. Let me turn this off there. So each point is basically doing this. As they move around, they are constantly updating a list of neighbors that are near them and communicating with those neighbors to figure out how they should move next. They take in information from inputs, generate a conclusion, and then output their own motion. And this is actually very similar to how many forms of artificial intelligence work. The difference is rather than having a pre-configured network with connectivity across multiple layers, it's self-assembling. There's nothing to stop you from setting it up as an actual neural network and just running through with the traditional processing. But it's actually far more interesting to me to see what happens when you let it sort itself out. Now, the other thing I want to do is make sure that all of the kinds of sensor information that are becoming available get integrated into this. So at the very base layer, sorry, find it here. Aha. At the very base layer, all of the sensory input from the audio, the 3D feed, yeah, they like that. And the motion feed, any kind of AR stuff that you have, it can all react to this, and they can all run simultaneously. In fact, everything you see here is actually made out of the swarm. So when I turn the audio off, they simply go back to being part of the swarm. When I turn it on, they are segmented into a group of them that's doing the audio behavior, but the rest of them are still aware of them, just like they're particles, and that's why they react. I believe that menus should be made out of these things, and your characters should be made out of these things, and all of the kinds of things you do to map the environment should be one uniform primitive. And by this, you'll be able to do analysis on your own program as it's running. And an experiment I've been doing, and I don't have it to show tonight, is what illustrated the real value of this. As you can see, I'm going through a bunch of configuration files, and there's a lot of them, and it began to get confusing as to what does which. So I made a tree of them that a new configuration saves its parent, whatever happened to be running when I click save. Dying up here. Would then have a link to its parent, and then I threw all of this information of the configs to the particles, and I said, okay, hook yourselves up into a tree diagram. And that was pretty good because you could click up and down a tree, but there was a problem of big changes happening from one link to the next. And I realized, okay, well, I got all this configuration data. How about I have them fly towards other configurations that are similar? And that was the realization that not only could you manipulate the environment and your characters within it, but you could actually process sensibly data. You could do clustering, you could do analysis in a way that makes it easy. Show me the data spread out by time. Show me the data by what's red getting close together. And put the stuff into space based on its color. X for red, Y for green, blue for Z. Mix it all up and bring it all together. My work right now is going on to try and expand the capabilities of this. Lots of things need to be done. Lots of explaining how it works and why you might want this. But the results are beginning to really become enchanting. What you're seeing here is previous recording. Nothing about these particles has any kind of agent behavior. There's not like chase this or you're a big white thing and you're a little white thing. They just did this entirely themselves. And in fact, this behavior right here is a result of a faraway cluster that happened to be linked to these two. Nonetheless, what you see here looks so lifelike that, well, when I saw it, I couldn't stop. Different network parameters and different settings on how they search out each other create different emergent environments. And most beautifully, the environments that form seem to mirror reality. I've seen this a lot before in procedural generation, but I feel as though this realm of procedural emergent behavior is the future. Any questions?
How do we play with that?
Well, number one, I could go for some money right now. So I will hook your ass up.
Yeah, but what about software?
Sorry?
Just
Basically it all runs in Unity. It runs on Macintoshes and anything that can run compute chairs. So Macintoshes with actual GPUs or any desktop from the last decade, probably. I am looking forward to releasing it and have a plan. Maybe you guys can help me with my plan. So here's the plan. There's this building for a company called Dolby. I don't know if you've heard of it. And they have this big lobby with some really big screens. It's like 60 by 20 feet long. It's kind of egregious. And they like to have art on there that looks cool. And so I figured that would be pretty neat. But I was asked to do this, and I'm like, I'm not your trick pony. And then I needed to pay rent, and so I had to think about it some more, and I decided I'd come back with this proposal. That I do an installation there for a month, and on one screen I'll have this running, and it'll be hooked to Connect sensors and things like that in the lobby, so that people coming in can interact with it. And maybe some little demos of like, welcome to Dolby, here, let the particles guide you to the room you're supposed to go to with this HoloLens. But on the other screen, because there's two of them, I want to do a Twitch show. So basically every day I'd be working on this program and updating the installation with new versions. And you'd be able to interact with me on this show. And I'd bring in other artists and data scientists and game developers to work with me to create some examples of how this could be useful. Right now, it's a bit complicated. I'm not the best engineer. There are those here who could testify. And it's a bit of a beast to see what runs it. But in the future, I think the limitations of needing to know how to program CUDA and things like this will go away. I'm pretty sure that if you can do C#, maybe in the future you'll be able to do this. So you want to play with it, give me money, give me that Dolby lobby, buy me a coffee, and I'll have you in and happily show. Anybody else?
Yeah, so are you doing the behaviors in the GPU as well as the graphics?
Yeah, people are a little confused about the meanings of these terms in GPU and CPU, but it's very simple. GPU stands for General Processing Unit, and CPU stands for Complementary Processing Unit. Well, thank you very much, everybody.
Harvey and friends, where are you?
Hello. How's everybody doing? Good.
I'm looking for my other friend Colin, but I don't know if he's here yet. Colin? Colin's not here. Okay, no worries. So hello, I'm Harvey Moon. Ignore that. Don't worry about that. So I've been doing some interesting stuff with projection mapping. Maybe some of you guys have seen this already, so I apologize if it's a little redundant. But I thought I would share. I thought you guys might be the right people to appreciate some of this and maybe have some suggestions on how to move forward. So without further ado, we've been playing with HTC Vive and projection mapping. And so we got the VR headset, and we're really excited about VR, and then we quickly moved over to AR and stopped wearing the headset at all. And so now, for the most part, the headset sits in the corner of the room, and we focus on this stuff. So let me just show this video and get it started. So we started working with the controllers as a tracking mechanism. So using controllers and then calibrating a projector, you can do real-time projection mapping, which is really exciting when we first figured this out. So basically, in projection mapping systems, you need kind of an equality between your virtual spaces and your real spaces. And so with this tracker, you have a nice connection between what's real and what's virtual. And you can reproject those virtual spaces back into the real world, and with some pretty surprising, amazing effects. You know, none of this is pre-done. You can see all of this is handheld stuff. Pretty impressive. There's really interesting little snippets in here. Like, of course, the cat has to make a cameo, but this is a virtual flashlight. So we got really excited about this, and we were kind of trying to see where to push this technology. We were thinking about some of the stuff that Johnny Lee did about 10 years ago to automatically calibrate. We made this kind of hacky algorithm to, a captive hacky algorithm to automatically find these little sensor positions and then calibrate the projectors automatically. We also found that it was a really cool measuring tool, so you could use this to actually measure planes or surfaces and then kind of lock those into existence. Using another tracker, you can then use it kind of like a laser pointer and manipulate spaces virtually. This is a third-person perspective of what the software is doing on the back end, organizing all of these spaces. So for interaction in virtual spaces or real spaces with virtual applications, there's not a lot really available right now. So we think this is a really simple demo of like using a slider there and actually augmenting things that are just light with a pretty natural UI. So then on another level, Johnny Lee played around with head tracking. So we wanted to try our hand at that. So we attached a controller onto a head piece. And moving your head around, you can get this kind of window effect that's really unique, it's really interesting. So yeah, you might be familiar with Johnny Lee demos where he uses these targets, but it's really a striking effect, and mostly because of the rate. These trackers are able to do, I think, about 240 hertz at 0.3 millimeter precision. So it's really impressive. So then we got into using the controller as kind of as an interface device. So if you can calibrate a single point onto the controller, you can use it as like a direct manipulator or a measuring tool or some way to directly augment. Now this is really fun because we incorporated multiple people in this. So this isn't just a single user experience. This is something where you can see here, I can hold this board and she can draw on it and there's no issue because it's all relative motion and all of it's tracked perfectly. So this stuff was really fun. Looking for some new avenues to take this. And then we started getting into some voxel rendering. So in a more like a doctor application of this, we could take an MRI scan, convert it into a voxel, and then do a cross-section slicing through that media. And so in this case, we used a screen because it's a lot easier to move an object around than to have it projected from all sides. And so in this case, we have a tracker on the screen that you can actually slice through, and there we have an annotation tool. So you can slice through different layers of voxel geometry and actually have this kind of real-time model that you can move through. It's pretty remarkable. It's pretty cool. We're looking for some other data sets because this one's kind of gory, but you guys get the idea. So it's cool because you can actually fold it in different directions and look at different. There's a spine. You can look at different parts inside the body that you really wouldn't have access to through a typical MRI that just slices vertically. So recently we figured out how to get 120 hertz rates, which is like really amazing. It makes it stick like glue. So once you get past your human perception, there's no more delays in there, and it can just snap. And that's when your like suspension of disbelief is like out the window. There's just instant texturing on objects. Right now, our biggest issue, is you might see in some of these videos, is the calibration. So calibrating on like a static surface is relatively easy in comparison. The parameters of your lensing and your position of your projector is like not as important. But when you move your object around, you really need to make sure that your projector is calibrated and that everything's in the right place. So projector calibration is, as a lot of you probably know, it's a real bitch, and it's something we're working on right now. But really excited about this stuff. We've just been playing around. We're working on a couple of new performances right now that are in the works, and then some other demonstrations. We've been slowly bringing it out as it's ready into the public. We were looking for some other opportunities or other people that are interested in collaborating. Last video, and then I'm done. Beautiful. So these are the new Vive trackers, which really pars down the size, and it gives you a position to mount to, which those other guys didn't. We had to figure out where the origin point and rotation was. So they're really developing this stuff really fast. This is the first iteration of the Vive tracking technology, and they're already talking about version 2 coming out with like warehouse size tracking. So some exciting things in the works.
Is the projector also 120?
Yes.
What is the projector?
Oh, right up the difficult questions. You gotta pin me on it. So we figured out that you can basically spoof the EDID on 3D projectors to double frame. And so you can basically do 120 hertz at a lower res. So it's kind of like, yeah, we can talk about that. But a lot of 3D projectors now have that ability. Optimize are really good for it.
Is that because the 3D projectors are interlaced like 260 frame rate images?
It depends on what you're dealing with. We're able to go straight one frame, not like split.
Progressive, single frame.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So 120 pretty quick.
But you guys start using computer vision as opposed to large numbers to do your tracking?
Well, that would be cool. I'm not an OpenCV wizard. I'm more of like a hacker than a real coder, so you guys know that maybe. But I'm learning a lot more about OpenCV and computer vision. I think one of the things like out there now for tracking, the only thing that you can get is mocap or camera-based solutions, and I guess the big disadvantage of that is rate. A lot of those things like really aren't like there's a big entry point. You have to have a whole camera and calibrated systems, like a bunch of multiple cameras, and then the feedback rates, I haven't really seen speeds of 240 hertz before. So those sort of things are kind of unheard of in other tracking techniques, which is why I really gravitated towards the Vive tracking. But yeah, I'd love to learn more about OpenCV. Like I said, the cameras, the projector calibration really needs some more OpenCV chops.
Is any of your stuff, is your stuff like open source?
Not at the moment. We are developing most of it in Touch Designer, so it's a little harder to work with other people with Touch Designer and like distribute that stuff. But interested, we should talk more. Other questions?
Yeah. Is the resolution of your medical renderer so low because of the 120 hertz issue, or do you just have a sucky voxel renderer?
Well, Yeah, it's a sucky voxel render.
I might
It's-
hook you, can link you up with a bit better voxel rendering.
Okay, I think the two of you could deal with voxels a lot better. Yeah, no, it's again a hack based off of an open human data set. So technically it has a lot more voxels in there, but the way that I'm rendering it and then slicing through it is definitely not the most the most energy efficient. So I cut down the resolution for that reason. But it could be better. Yeah. So that's that. Thank you guys so much. I don't have a cover. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Okay, so next up we have Sorob. Where are you?
Hey guys. So, if you remember a couple of years ago at the same type of event that we had, I talked about web-based editor for VR. And you probably saw like a crappy version of this thing that I'm going to show today. So we finally found the sugar daddy for it, and we got it made. And he owns it. So it's called Mirra. It's a platform for design thinking and prototyping of VR experiences. Nothing too complicated about it. I'm just gonna go straight to it and keep it quick. So basically what it does, it gives you an opportunity to use like templates, for example, whatever Squarespace is doing for websites, and do that on a browser for VR and create experiences, put 360 videos and photos or blah blah blah, buttons, link scenes to each other, add a text, change the color, white-ish so you can see it, make it bolder, do things like that, add 360 objects, upload your FBXs, there's a market, you can download the assets, furniture, blah blah blah. And the whole point of it is to just toss ideas back and forth between designers and developers, because as you may know, some of our friends who are more traditional, never experienced VR, don't understand the 3D concepts, compositions, things like that, and it would really accelerate the conversation between designers and developers. And whenever you're done, you can basically see it in any major VR headsets, AR kits, and soon there's going to be like a web VR player for it as well. So the project is called Mirra with 2r.co. If you want to check it out, that's it.
Okay, so we're moving a lot faster than expected, which is good. So moving on to the wait list. So next up is Yagmur. Where is she? Oh.
I'm Yagmur, artist and designer based here, but from Birke. Recently I got interested in physical lights and their applications, and have been messing around, playing with processing and like general RGB stuff, LEDs. And then I am going to talk about this my latest project that I did. It's a mask for a musician called Slow Magic. I don't know if you know him. He's like EDM but more chill, LA beat scene, producer and drummer. And he was using a mask like this as a part of his identity. It was a box, basically, he would put his face in. And around the box there was an LED strip, which was just RGB. And then these patches were colored gel, and they were just emitting light. And he was wanting to have more of this one where he can display patterns and different colors and be able to control with his music, most importantly. And then he tweeted something, and I emailed him and said, I can do this with my collaborator Joey. And then he said, okay. So that's how it started. So we decided on creating an array of LEDs to be able to control the lights with music and be able to have a high density display. This was his old mask. And then we started prototyping and trying to figure out how to host the array of LEDs in a box. So all of these laser cutting process, we ended up using a diffuser, diffused acrylic, this first one. And on top of it, there's a black, again, some glass material, I can't remember, glued on top. And then the most difficult part was the case part. We ended up 3D printing out of white nylon, which is the most durable material, but it was white. So we ended up dyeing in black dye. And then the fun part began. So all of these are testing how to wire the LEDs, how to host them in the case. So the final version looks like that. So there's a case, the dyed case, 3D printed and dyed case. On top of it, there's a plastic surface. On top of it, the LEDs are wired, and then silicon. So the first testing, light testing, looked like this. And then there's a little video thing, yeah. All very, this is the beginning, nothing too advanced. And then at the end, it was looking like this. So he sent us some videos, and this is all video that how it works is he uses Ableton for his set. So Ableton sends an OSC to processing, and the processing sends an OPC to its server, and he is wearing a wireless router on a vest that he's wearing, and that server, that router is connected to the server and getting that data and sending it to Fade Candy, which is controlling the lights. And he is looking right now like this. Do we have sound here?
I don't know, Phil?
No,
sound.
not at the moment.
I'll just show you with the. I'll just show the video without sound. Oh, never mind. It's not working.
What was the diffuser material? Just
Second.
semi-opaque acrylic, or what specific kind of acrylic were you using?
So it's 60% diffused white acrylic.
Okay.
It's laser cuttable, very user friendly.
Cool.
Is that flexible or?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
There are different thicknesses. I use 1/8. There's 1/16, I believe, and there's 1/4. But 1/4 was too heavy because he's wearing those head and like he's performing his drumming. So actually we ended up giving him a vest and put the batteries, 3 of them, on the pockets with a wireless router to like reduce the weight of the mask, actual mask. But he still says it's pretty heavy.
Okay. All right, so we're just gonna switch up. Mr.Doob, are you ready? Where's Ricardo? You ready to present? Sure. We're still looking for maybe a DisplayPort adapter, but in the meantime.
What happened?
No mini DisplayPort adapter, so. But if you have, if you have HDMI or
I have that.
USB-C.
Mr. Doob, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be able to do math.
Oh, sweet, okay. Alright, so, how do you math?
GLSO Sandbox taught me everything.
I only did the hookups to the WebGL thing. I don't know what you were doing. I don't understand that. That's IQ. IQ, that's. There are no speakers or anything, right?
No audio.
Right. So hello everyone, I'm Ricardo. I'm just going to show a little bit of, you guys know there's this website called Christmas Experiments. They do they collaborate with, they pick around like 30 creative developers, like web developers that do experiments, or they like to experiment a little bit with web technologies. So they pick one and they show every person shows one every day. So like it's like a advent calendar for like basically WebGL experiments. So everyone has to pick and do their own thing. There's no any, doesn't really have to be anything related to Christmas. You just do your thing. So I have, my day was number 8. I didn't really know what to do. And usually it's something that you know for they tell you in 1 month, but I didn't know what to do until the previous day I didn't have that much work or anything. So I just want to show a little bit what I came up with and how it was done. Sadly there's no music so I cannot show it properly. What?
Just sing the song, Ricardo.
Is it playing out of the projector?
It should be, but
oh yeah, I can hear it.
no, that's coming from my.
Oh, okay.
Good job.
stretch up. So the particle system thing is the thing that I really, it's actually not, there's no like, how do they call it? Isaac, the
GPU stuff.
yeah, but the usual, the curl noise or anything, it's nothing like that, it's just a sinus into sinus with somebody. It's the same as the old one from like 4 years ago, it's the same. But on this one I just added this light source thing, that it was actually inspired by being in the shower, and there was a light on the top of the shower, and then you see the mist. I'm like keep looking at the shower, and I'm like, oh, I like that effect, and I want to do that.
You're combing the shower.
So yeah, like sometimes you come out with things in the shower. In this case, I actually saw the thing in the shower. so this is an editor that I've been building. Like you guys know, demos and stuff. It's something I've been building for like years, but like like every one day per year kind of thing. And we actually, with Jono and with you guys, we did a music video for Chemical Brothers early this year that we improved this editor quite a bit. So in a way, this is like a kind of like Premiere kind of tool that you can skip to any time, and all those little things at the bottom are like the effects, so you can actually modify the code of everything, of every little thing down at the bottom. So for instance, those are like, I just call the effect like light beams, so I don't see much, but let's say that I modify, I have this here, I don't know how this, oh, hold on, I have to remember how this works. Light precision, okay. So if I do right now, like every effect has this start kind of fun, all those methods start and updates. So right now, every time that this box is happening at the beginning, it's setting a random position of that light, and then like at the end, we set it intensity to 0, and then every update, depending on where you're, like if you're the 0 position or you're the 1 position, is going to run that function. So it's a way of modulating a sinus, in a way that's fitting all with the music, basically. So if I do, which this all was done in a rush, so visually is not that interesting, it's just random. But so this is something that I didn't get to do. But if I just do some basic moving the lights every frame, I don't know, it's much better. So yeah, like you basically, this is an environment where you're encoding the thing and see the result and you upload or whatever. And then you can also have like the libraries, that in this case I'm using 3, and you have so like some scripts that are running at the beginning, so you don't want to create the render every time that you're loading everything, so you just create all those things once, and also the particle system code is also like there. So some things that you want to create all the time. Some interesting or some funny things about this is that the way it's done right now, it's very difficult. Like whenever you have something like this, it's very easy to go forward because everything is just changing. But if you go backwards, you don't know if something is supposed to be enabled or disabled. So basically, right now, it kind of initializes everything that you jump backwards. Initializes everything from the beginning just to make sure that what you see is correct. But because of the code of the effects right now, it's just random. Now you can do like a kind of disco party whenever you go back.
What does it sound like when you go back?
And you can something that you used to usually is this one is very ambient, so there's not that many. Like the thing that I want is editor for is basically for like synchronizing things to very easily. Like whenever someone does any visual experiments, you're limited by the code, but if you have something that is very easy to mark the points when things happen. So something I like to always have it like this one is ambient, so it doesn't need it. But if I do something like a bit more upbeat is usually very nice to like know, to like slow it down so you can sing things easier. So you can go to, well, well, audio tagging is everything used. To half the speed, or like if I use web audio, it could be a little slower. But yeah, this is usually like okay, listen to the music, and trying to like get things at the right time and everything. This editor has nothing to do. It doesn't rely on any library. This doesn't need to be like WebGL or like 3 or anything. It's just the DOM elements that you access, and you want to use an SVG thing, or you want to use Babylon, or you want to use anything that you want to use. Is what the editor basically gives you is timeline stuff, and kind of like you can think of them as like processing things running on those things. And even the audio player is an effect. Like the audio player is the first one that you define the audio you want to load, and then you need to tell the player what you want to use as audio for synchronizing. And you can actually make one of those effects to like change whenever, like you can change alternate, change the time at any time. So you can make one effect that you just jump into a random position, like Flash used to be. But yeah, this is something that I've been working on for a while. It's open source for FRAME.js.
Does it have keyframes?
Excuse me?
Do you have like keyframes?
Not yet. Like I wanna do curves and modify the curves. Kind of limited to
variable, yeah.
And
yeah, so apply to like a variable.
Yeah. Like right now it's like okay, so I don't know if there's any effect, or maybe the clear one. Oh, I haven't tried this. So this effect has a clear parameter, for instance, so like I don't get that much. But yeah, so you can. This is still not finished, so it's not really stable. Like the whole thing is not very stable. You need to know what you're doing, and things might break horribly. But I'm adding parameters in there, so whenever you add the effective parameter, you can modify things there, but it doesn't really save it on the script or whenever you load them. But the idea is to like make it to add parameters there, and eventually add the curves that you can apply to those parameters on a different tab, and then curves, and then you modify those curves. And that's about it. I think that's how we've done it.
Is it all stored locally, or is there a backend, or?
It's all locally, yeah.
Okay.
And whenever you're done, you just export it as just a JSON file.
Cool.
And there's a player for it that is just the same as the editor. So the player from before, you just tell the file you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just very simple.
Make it.
Stuff. Like it's just the library itself, it just takes care of like running whatever you tell it. Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah. All right. Well, check out the experiments. They're pretty good.
Alright. Cool. Hello again. My name is Changbai. I work at Harvey Interactive. We do event installation, and we have Unity developers and web developers. So it's about doing a hackathon, internal hackathon, and creating a software that makes it easier to that both type of developers make things. So we created a Warbler. It's it is a so this one is just a fitness board, but we added sensors to it to output rotation data, and we send this rotation data out using XP. To the receiver, we create a software that turns this info outputs them as a WebSocket and OSC.
we create a bunch of apps using this combination. One of the ideas is to use. Yeah, so one of the idea is to use the balance board as a print table. The rotation controls. Yeah. And the pitch controls the, it's kind of hard to hear, but the pitch controls the low pass filter. Another idea would be to use this as a glider. Let's see. Is this working? So I'm going to set this up. It's as difficult as it looks.
Seriously.
Yeah. I want to get to this point. Not that Christmas.
Has anybody been hurt? Has there been any casualties yet?
Not so far. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. And I can go through some pictures of, well, some more pictures about this. So both of these two are built with WebGL, both with 3.js. I didn't bring the Unity apps because this computer is not powerful enough, but one of my friends, Kevin Li Jr. in Portland, he started off with using OSC to control Ableton to, actually no, Max MSP to generate music. And then he added a visual element to it as well. This is oh, that's weird. Here we go. So this is flying through space on a Warbler. The hardware started off actually as a skateboard, modding a skateboard. And Alpine Castle mostly worked on that part. He's shiny as well. This is the skateboard after the exhibition event. It's just very different from originally planned. That's the balance board. Oh, and we built a, let's see, right. We built a transparent casing around the electronics for the skateboard. Yep, so that's Warbler.
So last up, Mike Chang.
Hello again, you guys.
Hello.
You guys are all doing such cool stuff. So, I feel like every time I do an OooShiny now, it's like, update on Michael Chang's game.
Yeah.
So, I don't have like a building thing to show you today. So I usually show like the art and the procedural building generator. Just to back up a second, sorry, this is a game that I've been making just on my free time for a couple of years now. It's called Cyberpunk City Simulator. And it's like, if you ever played SimCity and you watch the movie Blade Runner, think of like what they do to each other. And this is that kind of a game, right? So I don't really have a new city, or an old city that I've pre-made. I should have done that. So we're gonna make a new city. So today I'm gonna show just a little bit of gameplay and show a little bit of what's going on under the hood. Let's see, all right. Okay, that's not a bad terrain. Okay, so like SimCity, you would like maybe draw a road. And, let's write this down. Okay, well, we can't try to percent, whatever.
11.
So we're gonna make some residential zones, and we're gonna make some zones. But then, where are people gonna work? No one's gonna move in if you don't have jobs, right? So the first job that's available to you are sweatshops, because what Cyberpunk can you get? So we're gonna make some sweatshops. People are gonna move in, but they're not gonna be very happy. So what you're looking at here is these buildings are procedurally generated. There's a copy of 3.js running inside Unreal Engine. Using this plugin called Unreal.js, and yeah, so the game code, the simulation, and the procedural generation stuff is all running in JavaScript, and it's sending Unreal Engine like polygons to render, and it's doing some procedural generation of these like materials. And some of this art is like pre-made because I can't procedurally generate just literally everything. It would be crazy. Right, so people are probably not very happy. Let's take a look at like, let's click on them. Yeah, happiness is like it's dropping, and there's some kind of like demand simulation where they'll move out, and then people will be like, oh yeah, no one's in the city, but there's jobs, so they move back in, and so there's constant flux of people like moving in and out of the city. So to make them happy, let's just give them like a park, right? And gives them some services, maybe a school. It's very, very expensive. We can't really build a school. It's too small.
Is that park just a building?
Procedurally generated. Alright, so I'm not going to play this game for too long. There's not much, I mean, yeah.
But it's always dark, right?
It's always dark. It's always, okay, so the way it works is
Seattle. Everything is indoors.
the sun has exploded. So there's a bunch of JSON files, and each of these little JSON files are rules that run in a certain order. And so what I've done is I'm like filtering for, like for example, any entity that has like a component called construction, and then there's like a little condition that we run, say the construction steps is less than the construction total, then we add a construction. And then as soon as the construction is complete, say it's greater than or equal to, then we add the components. We add a building, we give it a given name, and there's like a system that says, oh yeah, you have like a building, so we're going to make some art for you. Or you're going to have a given name, so we're going to procedurally generate like a made-up building name for you. So if we go back to like these buildings, right? This one's called the Crest Housing Project, Lockdown Commune, Jungleville, Meadow Ridge, Dies in the Field. And then like
What's the park called?
Just park. Sweatshops, the Boots, Dink Tramplex, Dink Campus. Yeah. And so, you know, in future production, when I'm not like too busy, I can work on this again. There's going to be procedurally generated corporations and cultures and people with procedural prejudices and biases. Yeah, like we need more of that in this world. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now, and ask me questions later. Thank you.
All right, that's it. Thanks for coming.